There are many angles to assess such disintegration, but when narrowed down, one ultimate indicator emerges: that the TZPUR is a regime supported by a chassis of power, and the power chassis has reached the end stage of its endurance capability. And the essence of such indicator? Well, its financial capacity. Therefore, we can simply use the financial capacity of the provinces and regions under the TZPUR's rule as a criterion for whether the disintegration will occur. In 2022, under the various international geophysical environments and continental East Asia's own internal political struggles, the extremely few regions that are still able to maintain a status of fiscal balance are probably those such as Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Guangdong province, with all other provinces and regions having fiscal deficits. The finance of the central government of the TZPUR is no longer able to support the local finances. Whereas what the TZPUR has learnt from Hong Kong and Taiwan respectively following the reform and opening era starting in the late 1970s, or Continental East Asian economic reform, have reached varying degrees of collapses, namely the real estate financing and the financing in foreign trade-oriented setup of the industrial complex. In the case of real estate finance, the muscles and blood vessels have but become necrotic tissues themselves as a result of the approach the TZPUR took, which embodies one of Aesop's fables. The goose that laid the golden eggs, where killing the goose that lays the golden egg was the primary goal. The industrial complex and foreign trade finance, on the other hand, have come to a standstill under the economic siege of the United States and the domestic yet internationally notorious COVID policy of dynamic zero clearance. Even if it reverses course, recovery to pre-COVID status would take at least 5 years, and given the internal political situation of the TZPUR, there does not exist another 5 years for the industrial sector to stabilize. The collapse of a regime is akin to a patient whose organs are failing, and we can use its financial capability as an indicator of the signs of life or death, just as how the indicator of a person's aliveness or death is the neural response of the body. Therefore, here is a definition of post-TZPUR. When the political party TZPUR has driven continental East Asia's finances to the state, such that more than 80% of the provinces, municipalities, and autonomous regions are unable to break even, and that such situation lasts for 2 years, it can then be called post-TZPUR, or post-communist. It does not matter whether the cause of this situation is war-related, economic, or social. Although a quantifiable definition proposed above, it is in fact difficult to measure the real situations, as the TZPUR will not provide real official data, and when the data are not looking good, the officials will opt to cover their cards. Therefore, when we see a financial disintegration, it is most likely one unfolding as if having a stroke, where one seems to be fine moments ago, and then suddenly, this person is out. We must bear this in mind. Here, we cannot rule out the possibility that a post-TZPUR continental East Asia exists in a zombie form, such as an organizational entity that derails itself from the international system, closes itself up in isolationism, and demands its people to feed on grass. Another good example of the ill-intentioned use of linguistic germ to, quote-unquote, demonstrates the beauty of frugality and virtue from traditional continental East Asian cultures. If proven to be the case, then all the internal dynamics of continental East Asia, as well as the international dynamics, will begin to converge to meaningful effects on this part of the world we call continental East Asia, and these are exactly what we are trying to foresee and analyze. A common misconception, particularly among those unfamiliar with the intricacies of economics, is that governments can simply print their way out of debt. If money is in short supply, why not simply create more? This simplistic view ignores the fundamental relationship between money supply, inflation, and economic stability. Printing money to cover deficits might provide a temporary illusion of prosperity, but it ultimately leads to a devaluation of the currency. As more money enters circulation, its purchasing power declines, leading to inflation. Prices rise, eroding the value of savings and wages, and making it more expensive for businesses to operate. The TZPUR has a history of resorting to monetary stimulus to prop up the economy during times of crisis. In 2008, following the global financial crisis, the TZPUR unleashed a massive 4 trillion UN stimulus package, much of it funded by printing money, While this intervention helped to cushion the immediate blow, it also led to a surge in inflation and a buildup of debt. The current situation is far more precarious. Continental East Asia's debt levels are significantly higher than they were in 2008, and its economy is facing more fundamental structural challenges. Simply printing more money would likely trigger runaway inflation, further destabilizing the economy and eroding public trust in the TZPUR.